She bought his freedom with a marriage contract. He bought her empire with a heartbeat. The ink hadn't even dried when Commander Kael realized the woman across the steel table wasn't human. Her eyes, silver like fresh-cut wire, watched him without blinking. The military tribunal's lights reflected off her skin, pearlescent and almost too smooth, and he knew what the whispers meant now. The alien widow wasn't a myth, she was a sentence. "Sign," she said, her voice a low frequency that thrummed through the cuffs around his wrists. He should have refused. A dishonorably discharged pilot doesn't sign interspecies contracts, especially not ones binding his life to an enemy emissary. But Earth's courts had made it simple: life imprisonment or rehabilitation via diplomatic union. The Empire's idea of peace was forcing its monsters to marry their heroes. "Lady Virel," he said, testing her name like a weapon, "you're aware this bond isn't symbolic. You'll be bound to my heartbeat, my biology." Her lips curved. "And you'll be bound to mine. Try not to die too quickly." The guard released his restraints. Paper hit the table. Ink shimmered in the sterile light like oil on water. He scrawled his name, the contract sealed with a pulse scan that hissed like something alive. When her hand touched his, the link burned through both of them, an electric pain so sharp he gasped. Beneath his skin, threads of light laced his veins in alien blue. Her pupils dilated. For a moment, she looked human. "What the hell was that?" he breathed. "The bond," she murmured. "Our lives are synchronized now. You bleed, I bleed. You die. You smile," he snapped, yanking his hand away. But she didn't. The faintest tremor passed through her jaw, almost regret. They left the courtroom under the stormlight of New Geneva's skyline, their shared escort of drones humming overhead. Rain fell in cold clet. Nicole drops. Virel didn't flinch. Kael, soaked and furious, fell into step beside her. "So what now? You drag me to some alien embassy, lock me up, and call it diplomacy?" "No," she said. "We go to the vault, and if you're as reckless as your record suggests, we might survive the next 48 hours. He laughed. "You're kidding." Her gaze flicked toward the thunder rolling over the horizon. "The storm doesn't joke, and neither do I." As their transport lifted off, Kael caught his reflection in the glass, a soldier turned pet, chained to something he didn't understand. Yet beneath the anger, something else flickered: curiosity. Because when the link pulsed, he felt her heartbeat sync with his, and it was too fast, too human. "Tell me one thing," he said. "Why me?" Her answer came after a heartbeat too long. "Because the Empire fears what you make us feel." The ship surged upward, engines screaming through the clouds. "If you were them, would you sign that contract? Tell me below." To Part 2, The Vault and the Storm. The transport cut through clouds like a blade through silk, lightning ghosting across its hull. Kael watched the static crawl along the glass, but his attention stayed on her. Every time the ship jolted, the bond in his wrist pulsed, her pulse, steady, cold, alien. Virel sat opposite him, her posture impossibly still. "Stop staring," she said without looking up. "Hard not to when the person who owns my heartbeat glows in the dark." Her lips curved, faint amusement threading the tension. "You humans exaggerate everything, even your fear." "Fear?" He leaned forward. "That's not fear, sweetheart. That's instinct. Instinct gets you killed in the vault." The word vault hit the cabin like gravity. Kael frowned. "You keep saying that. What the hell is it?" "A containment site. Old war relic. We need what's inside it before the storm arrives." "Define what?" "Energy. Origin unknown. But it hums like your species. Alive, impulsive, dangerous." She finally met his eyes, and for a second the silver softened. "You were chosen because the vault only opens for human DNA. Congratulations, Commander. You're a key." Kael barked a laugh. "So I'm your tool now?" "No, you're my risk." The ship descended through sheets of rain, touching down in a barren canyon where the ground glowed faintly beneath the storm's approach. Drones unfolded, scanning the perimeter. When Kael stepped out, the air slapped him with metallic heat. "Feels like the planet's breathing," he muttered. Virel didn't respond. She was already moving, her cloak snapping in the wind like a live thing. The vault loomed ahead, a colossal door carved into the canyon wall, veins of light tracing alien runes across its surface. Kale followed, boots crunching on scorched sand. "So this is what we're risking our lives for?" She turned, stormlight haloing her face. "Yo, you think survival is all you're risking?" He grinned. "What else is there to lose? Control." The door responded to their approach. Lines of blue fire spiraled outward, and a low vibration built in Kyle's chest, matching his heartbeat. The closer he got, the more his pulse synced with the vault's hum, and hers. He looked at her. "It's calling us." "No, it's calling you." She reached for his hand, hesitated, then took it. The bond flared between them, heat crawling up his arm like lightning finding ground. Inside, darkness bloomed, thick and alive. The moment they crossed the threshold, the door sealed behind them with a thunderous boom. "Comforting," K.L. muttered. "Stay close," she whispered. "The vault reads emotion. It will use yours against you." "Bad news, then." "I'm full of bad ideas." He wasn't lying. Every step deeper into the vault felt like walking through his own memories. His squad's screams, his mother's voice, the moment he'd fired on surrendering ships. The air shimmered with hallucination. Virel's hand tightened on his wrist. "Breathe, Kael. Anchor yourself." He glanced at her, saw her trembling. "You're feeling it too, aren't you?" Her nod was barely there. "Your emotions bleed into me through the bond." "Guess we're both screwed." When the vault's core chamber came into view, a pulsing sphere of light floating above an abyss, Kael swore under his breath. "That thing's alive." "It's aware," she corrected softly. "And it's listening." A flash of lightning from outside tore through the skylight slit, illuminating her face, and the tear of light blooming along her neck where skin met circuitry. "Virel, you're not what you think," she finished, voice tight. "Focus, human. We need to align our pulses or the vault will reject us both." He stepped closer, the glow painting his skin in ghostlight. Their foreheads nearly touched. "You could have warned me I was marrying a weapon." Her breath hitched. "And you could have warned me you'd make me feel." The vault roared, their joined pulse syncing with its rhythm. The light turned crimson. Outside, thunder split the sky open. Team human or team alien? Whose side are you on? The crimson light swallowed them whole. Kael's skin burned where her fingers gripped his. Energy lanced through their bond like a pulse from a dying star. For a heartbeat, the world vanished. Then the vault screamed. The sphere ruptured. Energy tore the air apart. Kael tackled Virel behind a fractured pillar as shockwaves turned the chamber into a storm of molten dust. "What the hell did you do?" he shouted. Her eyes blazed, silver bleeding into red. "You felt something." The vault read it as consent. Consent for what? To merge. The word hit him harder than the blast. "You mean—" "Yes," she gasped, voice cracking with static. "Our bond isn't just neural now, it's rewriting us." He looked at her, truly looked, and saw veins of light crawling up her throat, mirrored by faint blue threads beneath his own skin. Two systems trying to coexist, two hearts, one malfunctioning code. The chamber groaned around them. "We have to get out," Kael said, dragging her toward the collapsing corridor. But the vault wasn't done. Shapes began peeling from the walls, constructs of memory and fear. His squad, their eyes hollow. His brother, mouth moving soundlessly. "Not real," he whispered. Virel seized his face. "Then make it so." He kissed her, swift, brutal, grounding. The illusions flickered, startled by emotion they couldn't process. When he pulled back, she looked shaken. "What was that?" she breathed. "Human override." She almost smiled before the floor gave way. They fell, tumbling into darkness. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. When he blinked, he was lying in a narrow maintenance tunnel, metal hissing from residual heat. Virel sprawled beside him, cloak torn, breathing hard. He touched his chest. Their pulses were still one rhythm. "You Ali!" "Define alive," she murmured, rolling onto her back. Her skin glowed faintly now, light pulsing in time with his. He couldn't stop looking. "You're beautiful when you're breaking. Flattery," she said, voice a thin thread, "is inefficient." "Yeah, but it works." A low rumble above them interrupted. The vault was imploding, drawing the storm down into itself. Kyle hauled her up. "We need an exit." "There," she pointed, to a service ladder leading toward a hatch marked with alien glyphs. He boosted her up, hands on her hips. She glanced down once, something human flickering in her metallic gaze. "You're enjoying this?" "Just following orders, ma'am." The hatch burst open under her touch. Wind slammed them as they climbed out into chaos. The canyon was gone, replaced by a maelstrom of rain and debris. Lightning twisted across the sky, and through it all, the vault's energy spiraled upward like a wounded sun. Kale stumbled toward the edge. "Your empire's gonna love this. Failed experiment, dead human husband, real diplomatic triumph." Varel turned on him, drenched and furious. "You think this was my choice? I was sentenced too, Kale. To feel, to want." He froze. "That why they call you widow?" She looked away. "My first bond didn't survive the merge." A bitter laugh escaped him. "So I'm your second attempt?" "Don't flatter yourself," she said, but her voice trembled. "You're my last." Before he could answer, a nearby cliff exploded, stormlight solidifying into energy soldiers, constructs of the Empire sent to contain her. "They followed us," Kale hissed. "They were never far," she replied, eyes hardening. "Run!" They sprinted through the storm, rain slicing like glass. Energy bolts tore the ground apart. Kale fired back with a stolen rifle, each shot lighting his veins. The bond amplified his reflexes, hers his aim. They moved like a single entity, one thought, two bodies. An explosion threw them against a transport wreck. Varel coughed, glowing blood on her lips. "Stay with me," he ordered, pressing her wound. She smiled faintly. "You blinked. I win." Lightning split the sky again, and in that flash he saw what the vault had left inside her, a faint blue shimmer pulsing beneath her heart. His DNA, his child. "Varel," he whispered, horror and awe tangled. "What did you do?" Her eyes, silver and fragile, met his. "I made sure at least one of us survives." The storm swallowed her next breath. "If you've ever risked everything for desire, drop." The wind howled through the wreckage, metallic and mournful. Kale knelt beside Varel, his hands slick with her shimmering blood. It pulsed faintly, alive, defiant. The storm was closing in, twisting reality itself, thunder echoing like war drums. "Don't you dare fade on me," he muttered, pressing his forehead to hers. The bond flared weakly, responding to the sound of his voice. "I'm not fading," she whispered. "I'm becoming." "Becoming what?" Her gaze lifted toward the lightning-streaked sky. "The veil. It's what lies between your world and mine. When the vault broke, it tore the barrier. Now it's bleeding through me." He clenched his jaw. "Then we fix it. You can't fix what was meant to evolve." Her voice, so calm, so alien, sent a chill through him. He realized she wasn't just injured, she was changing. The lines of light across her skin were no longer random. They moved like constellations, forming patterns that pulsed in rhythm with the storm. "Varel, listen to me," he said, gripping her shoulders. "If you cross into that, whatever it is, I lose you." She smiled faintly. "You don't lose me, Kale. You become me." He recoiled. "No, I didn't sign up to be turned into some cosmic love letter." Her laugh was soft, almost human. "You signed to survive. But that's the thing about humans. You survive by changing everything you touch." Lightning struck nearby, a blinding pulse that knocked him to his knees. When the light cleared, the world Arsas on them had shifted. The canyon was gone, replaced by an endless sea of glass reflecting a twilight sky. The storm hung above like a shroud, half energy, half memory. "The veil," she breathed, standing unsteadily. "It chose us." He stared at the horizon, where ghostly figures moved, echoes of lives unlived, possibilities unrealized. "Feels like being inside someone's dream." It's the space between choices, she murmured. Between what is and what could be. He stepped closer, searching her face. And what are we? Her answer came with a tremor. The question. They walked across the glass plane, the reflections beneath showing scenes neither recognized. Kyle as a child reaching for stars, Virel as a scientist dissecting light. Every step pulled pieces of their memories together, weaving something new. He stopped, breath uneven. You said the vault wanted to merge us. Why? Because humanity is chaos, she said. And my people worship order. The universe needs both to survive. He tilted his head, studying her glow. So this was their plan all along, make us fall for each other and call it balance? Her smile was bittersweet. No, they wanted control. We gave them love instead. The veil rippled at her words, light bending around them. Kael reached out instinctively, fingers brushing her jaw. The bond surged, stronger than before. Every emotion he'd buried, every fear, every spark of desire ignited. Say that again, he whispered. Love? Slowly. Her eyes darkened like twin eclipses. Love. The veil cracked open above them, revealing a core of radiant energy. Beautiful, endless, alive. It pulsed in time with their bond. Kyle felt it then. The presence of something ancient watching, waiting. It's aware of us. It always was, she replied. Now it must decide whether we're creation or contamination. He swallowed hard. So what's the plan, Commander? Her widow? Her fingers laced with his. We show it what humans do best. And that is? She leaned in, voice a whisper. We break the rules. Together they raised their joined hands. The light of the veil surged through them both, rewriting atoms, fusing code and soul. Kael screamed, feeling every heartbeat across galaxies. Virel's voice echoed in his mind. You feel to think, we think to feel. Then silence. When he opened his eyes, the storm was gone. The world lay still, silver and newborn. Virel was no longer beside him, but within him, her pulse steady beneath his skin. He exhaled, staring into the dawn. We broke the universe, he whispered. Now what? The answer came as a whisper on the wind, her voice, soft, eternal. Now, we begin again. She looked at the stars and the war they promised. The first dawn after the storm was silent. The wind, once filled with metallic howls and thunder, now whispered across the newborn horizon like it was afraid to disturb what remained. Kael stood alone, or so it looked. His reflection in the glass earth shimmered wrong, its outline split between flesh and light. When he breathed, the world brightened slightly, as if the air itself recognized his lungs. Inside him, she stirred. Still human, her voice murmured inside his mind. Barely, he said aloud, smirking at nothing. You left quite a mark, widow. You call it a mark. I call it survival. He glanced toward the distance, where the remains of the vault towered like the bones of a dead god. Lightning ghosted silently around it, now pale and slow, tamed by whatever fusion their bond had birthed. The Empire will come for this, he said quietly. And for you, she replied. They will fear what you've become. Then let them, Kael muttered, adjusting the strap of his rifle, still scorched from the storm. Humans don't follow orders. We rewrite them. The words echoed across the barren land like a prophecy. He began walking, boots crunching against the crystalline surface. Each step pulsed faintly, energy blooming beneath his soles in soft ripples. The veil wasn't gone. It was adapting, growing. Through it, he could feel her heartbeat, steady and deliberate, woven into his. You could have lived forever, he said quietly. Why risk it for me? Her laughter, faint and warm, brushed through him. Because eternity without chaos is just death with better lighting. He smiled. You sound more human every minute. Or maybe you sound less. Ahead, the remnants of a human outpost came into view, half swallowed by glass and dust. The flag, burnt, tattered, still bore the insignia of Earth's fleet. He paused beneath it, brushing his fingers over the fabric. It disintegrated at his touch, scattering into light. "Guess I'm officially between species now," he said. "No orders, no sides." "There are always sides," she reminded. "But now you choose them." He closed his eyes. "Then I choose the storm." Silence followed, then warmth radiating through his veins. "You finally understand. The storm isn't destruction, KL. It's birth. You carry both in you now." He looked up at the sky, clear for the first time, yet streaked with faint auroras, as if reality still remembered being torn. "So what happens next?" "We watch, we wait, and when they come to cage you, you show them what happens when love rewrites physics." He chuckled softly. "That a threat or a promise?" "Both." A soft hum drew his attention to the sky. On the horizon, black silhouettes appeared. Empire ships, sleek and merciless. They'd found him. Kale adjusted his collar, feeling the charge rise under his skin. Lightning licked his fingertips, tiny sparks born from the union of blood and code. "They're early. Then give them something to remember." The ships descended, weapons glowing like miniature suns. Kael stood his ground, wind coiling around him, his pulse synchronized with the approaching thunder. "You ready, Widow?" "Always, little storm." He smiled, feral, unbroken. Then the world erupted. Energy surged from his core, meeting the incoming fire mid-air. The explosion turned the sky white, swallowing metal, smoke, and sound. When the brilliance faded, nothing remained but rain and a single man standing amid the ruins, eyes glowing with twin lights, blue and silver, human and alien. He exhaled slowly. The storm obeyed. In the quiet that followed, he heard her again, closer, intimate. "You see now? We weren't sentenced to die together. We were chosen to begin again." He tilted his head, listening to the heartbeat beneath his own. It wasn't just hers anymore. It was theirs, two rhythms perfectly entwined. "Stay close," he whispered to the wind. "Always." The dawn broke wider, spilling light across the newborn world. Kael lifted his gaze toward the stars, the same stars that had once divided humanity and the Empire, and smiled like a man who'd stolen fire from the gods. Because he had. He was no longer the condemned soldier or the alien's consort. He was something else entirely. Stormborn. And somewhere, beyond the veil, something stirred in response. Alive, aware, and waiting. You think this was wild? The story pinned below will set your pulse on fire, if you dare. The light that poured over the new world wasn't sunlight. It was memory. Kael felt it as warmth crawling beneath his skin, threads of old lives stitching themselves across the horizon. He could see everything the storm had erased, forests rebuilt from glass, oceans suspended mid-wave, the bones of cities flickering like mirages. "They're not gone," Varel's voice whispered inside him, "just waiting for permission to exist again." "Then let's give it to them," he said. He walked toward the edge of a canyon that hadn't been there yesterday. The air shimmered with residual charge. The ground trembled like a giant heartbeat. Every pulse answered his. He crouched, pressed his palm to the ground, and let go. The bond surged outward. Blue light rippled across the glass plain. Beneath it, the soil began to breathe. The first sprout broke through, luminous, fragile, impossibly green. Kael laughed, a sound that echoed like thunder. "Life," he said. "That's what we were supposed to be fighting for all along." "And loving for," she replied. "Don't forget that part." He smiled. "I couldn't if I tried." Behind him, the horizon fractured again, this time not from warships but from portals opening in the fabric of the veil. Figures emerged, human scouts in patched armor, alien envoys wrapped in metallic cloth. They stared at Kyle, as if seeing a ghost. A soldier stepped forward, his weapon half raised. "Identify yourself." Kyle turned, light pulsing faintly in his veins. "Name's Kael. Used to be commander. Now? Just the man who broke your war." The soldier hesitated. "You're supposed to be dead." He smirked. "I got better." Varel's laughter fluttered through his mind. "You enjoy confusing them. Part of the charm." An alien emissary approached next, tall and radiant, her expression caught between reverence and fear. "The widow's signature is within you," she said. "Impossible." "Everything about us was impossible," Kael replied. "That's why it worked." The emissary studied him, then dropped to one knee. "The veil recognizes you as conduit. You carry both codes." Kael's chest tightened. "Then maybe it's time someone used them for more than control." He raised his hands. The sky responded, clouds swirling, lightning bending into spirals of color. Humans and aliens alike stumbled back as the storm reformed, gentle this time, humming like a lullaby. "Careful," Varel warned. "The power will consume you if you feed it fear." He closed his eyes, centering on her voice. "Then I'll feed it hope." The storm's light softened, descending as a rain of silver threads, each drop that touches. The ground birthed life. Flowers, moss, faint sparks of bioluminescent growth. The crowd watched in silence as the wasteland began to heal. A young pilot whispered, "Is he one of us?" Kael looked up, meeting her eyes. "I'm both of you, and neither." The words settled heavy in the air. For the first time in decades, humans and aliens stood together, not in battle, but in awe. He turned his gaze skyward. "You seeing this, Varel?" "Always." "Then tell me, what are we supposed to be now?" Her answer was soft, reverent. "The storm gave us power, Kael. Humanity gives it meaning. We are its memory and its rebellion." He laughed under his breath. "Love as rebellion. Guess that's one rule worth breaking." Far above, a new constellation flickered into being. Two intertwined pulses of light, one blue, one silver. The widow's mark. He felt her warmth curl through him again, not as possession, but partnership. For the first time since the tribunal, he didn't feel sentenced. He felt chosen. The emissary approached again. "What happens now?" Kael glanced at the reborn world. "Now we stop surviving." "And start?" He grinned. "Living." The veil shimmered overhead, responding to the word as if it had been waiting centuries to hear it. The sprout at his feet unfolded into a flower that glowed brighter than the storm itself. Kael reached down, brushed its petal, and whispered, "Welcome home." Night returned like a whisper instead of a warning. The new sky shimmered with slow auroras, remnants of the storm's power still bleeding across the stars. Kael lay on the ridge above the newborn valley, the smell of ozone mixing with the sweet pulse of growing life. For the first time in forever, silence wasn't heavy, it was sacred. He traced the faint blue veins on his wrist, her pulse, his own, fused. "You still with me?" "Always," came Varel's voice, warm and threaded with laughter. "Though I miss the body that used to roll its eyes at me." He chuckled. "Careful, you're starting to sound nostalgic." "Emotion is efficient now. You taught me that." He looked out over the glowing landscape. "You taught me that control is just another kind of fear." For a while, they said nothing. Wind moved softly through the luminous grass. Then she whispered, "Do you regret it?" Kael's jaw flexed. "You mean signing the contract that doomed me, saved you, broke the vault, and turned me into a cosmic lightning rod?" "That one." He smiled faintly. "Not for a second." Her laughter rippled through him, and the stars seemed to pulse in time. Down below, the mixed camp of humans and aliens had settled into uneasy truce. Fires burned in a circle, their glow reflecting off faces uncertain but alive. The emissary had begun recording Kael's words, spreading them through both networks. The widow's human bond was now legend. They called it the Pact of the Veil. Kael watched them from above, pride and sadness curling together. "They'll fight again," he said quietly. "It's what we do. Then make them fight for something worth bleeding for." Her voice carried like wind over glass. He sat up, eyes hardening with resolve. "You think they're ready? No one ever is. But that's what makes you human." He chuckled. "Always with the philosophy, always with the rebellion." He rose, descending the ridge. The camp stirred as he approached, some kneeling, others watching warily. "Don't," he said, raising a hand. "Don't kneel. I'm not a god. I'm a mistake that learned to love itself." Murmurs spread through the crowd. "We've got one world now," Kael continued, voice carrying. We can fill it with walls or with roots. I know which side I'm on." A young alien asked, "And what of the Empire?" Kyle's gaze flicked to the sky. "They'll come. Empires always do. But we're stormborn now. We don't hide from thunder. We become it." The words landed like sparks, igniting something fierce in the gathering. Humans and aliens exchanged glare, inks uncertain yet drawn together. He turned slightly, whispering inward, "Still think I talk too much? I think you finally understand why words matter." "Why's that?" "Because they build what guns can't." He smiled, eyes soft. "You'd make a good politician. You'd make a terrible one." He laughed, and for a heartbeat, the world felt ordinary again. Fires crackled. Someone passed him a ration pack. The air smelled of rain and new soil. Then the hum started, low, distant, mechanical. The crowd stiffened. Kyle's head snapped toward the north. On the horizon, a fleet materialized. Empire vessels, black against the aurora. Varel's voice sharpened. "They're scanning for me." "For us," he corrected. "They'll find both." "What will you do?" He flexed his hands, lightning crawling lazily along his knuckles. "Show them that love's not a weakness. It's an upgrade." He turned back to the camp. "Get underground," he ordered. "Stay close to the veil fissures. They'll shield you." "And you?" a voice asked. Kyle's grin was wolfish. "I'm going to remind the universe who started this storm." He walked alone into the dark, energy gathering behind every step, his veins glowing brighter with each heartbeat. The ships above shifted formation, preparing to strike. Varel's presence wrapped around his thoughts like a lover's breath. "Kyle, yeah, whatever happens next, don't forget me." He looked up at the sky, defiant. "You're carved into my pulse, widow. I couldn't forget you if I tried." Then the first beam of light fell. The beam struck, and the world dissolved into white. Kyle didn't flinch. He raised his hands, catching the descending fire as if it were rain. The energy folded against his palms, snarling like a cornered animal, until it bent, until it obeyed. Varel's voice crackled inside him, sharp and intimate. "You're overloading. Stop before it consumes you." "Too late for that," he gritted, teeth clenched, every muscle trembling. "We started this together. We finish it the same way." He pulled the beam apart like silk, redirecting its lig. Art, back to the sky. The fleet hesitated, sensors faltering. For one stunned heartbeat, silence reigned across heaven. Then Kyle rose from the scorched ground, lightning cascading around him, his body a storm-given shape. "They see you now," Varel whispered. "Good," he said, voice echoing through the valley. "Let them remember what human means." Another barrage cut through the night. Plasma, missiles, sonic bursts. Kyle laughed, a sound too alive to belong to someone mortal. He stepped through the explosions, each impact feeding the storm that trailed behind him. His silhouette blazed blue and silver against the inferno. In the camp below, humans and aliens watched with wide eyes, whispering prayers they didn't know they shared. For the first time in centuries, they didn't look at each other as enemies. They looked at Kyle and saw what unity could become. Lightning arced from his body into the ships above, hijacking their systems. One by one their engines flared, sputtered, then turned their cannons away. The fleet reoriented, not to attack, but to hover in stillness. Kyle floated, suspended between destruction and mercy. "They're yours," he said to Varel. "No," she murmured. "They're ours." He hesitated. "Then what do we do with them?" "We teach them fear, the right kind, the fear of losing what matters." He understood. Instead of unleashing death, Kyle opened his hands. The storm burst outward, transforming fire into light, destruction into dawn. The veil shimmered overhead, responding to their choice. The ships powered down, their crews overwhelmed by visions of what could be. When it ended, the world was quiet again. Kale dropped to his knees, gasping. Steam rose from his skin. "Varel? Here. Thought I lost you. You can't lose what you've become." He smiled faintly. So this is it. No more Empire, no more Earth Command, just us and the mess we made. Then, clean it, she said softly. Make it beautiful. He stood, trembling but unbroken. Around him the crowd began to move forward. Humans offering hands to aliens, aliens helping lift the wounded. The beginnings of something fragile but real. Kyle watched them, a strange warmth filling his chest. You know, he said to the sky, you never did tell me what you saw in me back then. Her voice brushed against his thoughts, gentle as static. I saw chaos that cared. He laughed, exhausted. Guess that's one way to describe love. The only way that survives war. The auroras above brightened, spreading until the stars themselves bowed under their light. Kyle tilted his head, eyes reflecting their color. Think the universe forgave us? The universe doesn't forgive, she whispered. It remembers, and it evolves. He turned toward the rebuilt horizon, the green valleys, the newborn rivers. Every sound carried the rhythm of something alive. Then maybe remembering is enough. A faint echo pulsed inside him. 2 heartbeats intertwined, one a little faster, smaller, new. His breath caught. Varel, I know, she said, awe in her tone. It's growing. He looked down at his palm, where faint blue light shimmered beneath the skin, softer now, steady. Our child, our future. The wind shifted, carrying scents of rain and ozone and hope. Kael's eyes burned as he smiled. Guess love really is rebellion. And chaos beats control. He laughed through tears, raising his face to the stars. Then let's make sure they never forget it. The auroras swirled above, forming twin spirals that mirrored their pulse. The world below hummed, awake, alive, beginning anew. He whispered into the rising light, "Stay close, little storm." And the wind answered, soft, infinite, alive. You think this was wild? The story pinned below will set your pulse on fire, if you dare.